What's going on, YouTubers? It's Run It Up, guys. Coming to you today with a little checklist video on what I endured or encountered on buying a used motorcycle. So I thought some of these tips and things that I found not necessarily wrong with my bike, but what I've learned after buying a used bike would help other people out, help you out. I don't know. You take it for what you want. But just watch the video and we'll see what happens. With that said, let's get right down to it. First thing that I endured or encountered in buying a used motorcycle was, was my budget. Did I want to finance one or did I want to pay cash for one? So I knew what the amount of money I was working with, and so I stuck with that game plan. And I knew what kind of bike I wanted. I wanted a sport bike. With that said, this is a Honda CBR 600 RR. This is not my first bike. I did start on a Yamaha R3, the 2015, the first edition. That was my first bike. I've been riding now for about 3 years now, almost 3 years. With that said, it was the best choice that I made because I've always rode dirt bikes. I used to race when I was a kid, but I never rode bikes on the street. So, learning the streets on a lower CC bike was a good choice for me. With that said, I've heard a lot of people starting on the 600 doing just fine. The dealership that I went to buy a bike when I was buying a brand new one, my first bike, they wouldn't sell me a 600 because just the fact that they knew who I was, we were good family friends and things like that. And I have no regrets. No regrets. No grudge. Like it was a great choice. Actually, I still have the Yamaha R3. She's sitting right in there. Sorry about the garage or shop. It's a freaking mess. It stays that way with kids and loaning your shop out to people. But anyways, so after about 2 years or a year, I graduated and bought this and paid cash for it. But anyways, back to the checklist, whatever. I did a lot of research on, not a lot of research, I just kept looking and looking. I didn't want to jump on the first thing I seen. With, I took my time. I didn't buy the first thing that came about. You know what I mean? I just kept shopping around and just looking at Craigslist and used dealerships and things like that. Or not used dealerships, but used bikes at dealerships. So yeah, and then finally one day I found this one on Craigslist that a guy had it nearby. And we went and checked it out. But anyways, back to the list. The main thing I can say is when first impressions means a lot. When you first look at it, is it clean? You can visually tell, if it's been taken care of. You just got to be more reluctant to, was it just cleaned, as in washed, but as in the bike's just a clean bike. And I think everybody use your common sense, you'll know what that means. But another thing, on the next part of the list, check to see if it has any parts scratched, things like that. Yeah, it can be clean, but look, like for instance, when I bought this bike, not this rear set, but the rear set that was on the bike was broke and cracked right here. And it was barely hanging on by just a little bitty bit back there. And you could ride it and not tell, but after a month or a couple of weeks of riding the bike, the crack was there, but after about a month, it finally gave way. And then the next thing, actually, when I bought the bike, I seen that right there. So that tells me that the bike's been laid down. And after talking to the guy and stuff like that I bought it from, he didn't physically lay the bike down. He bought from a guy that laid the bike down. and that's why these fairings are on here. And yeah, they're cheap fairings. Look here, this is a $300 set of fairings from eBay, and somebody over tightened this screw that goes in right here, and it just, after time, it just crumbled up, man. But hey, look here, you know, it's not perfect. It's a used bike. Excuse me. Next, I mean, check the tires, check the wheels. I came across the rear tire, or not tire, the wheel had a small little curb in it. It just barely rolled right here. It was still holding air, but I didn't notice it when I bought it. I didn't notice till I got it home, started rubbing on it, cleaning it, and those are the things you're going to come across when you get it home and you actually really start rubbing on it. The bike was one, when I bought the bike that day. I did ride the bike, but he would only let me ride it in a parking lot. So I really couldn't get it up to full speed and listen to the sound, things like that. So it was really hard. But listen to an idle, everything sounded fine. So that was really, really refreshing and calming that it didn't sound awful. So that was one of the big sellers. I checked the brakes. It had front brakes, it had rear brakes. They had to be adjusted just a little bit. Check the fluids, man. Check all your fluids if you can. Of course, checking the radiator fluid's gonna be hard, things like that. But that's maintenance. I rode the bike home, and the first time I got to use my turn signal, I noticed they didn't work properly, and I was really aggravated. And it don't make sense now, but it seems like every time I would hit this and wiggle it or something like that, they would work. But it was just the lights coincidentally working whenever I would hit this, and come to find out, when I finally bought a integrated tail light, the wiring was all just jacked up on it. It's horrible. So I fixed all that, got that done, and next thing I got to looking at is, if you'll look real close right here, guys. If you can look down in here, you see that? That's rust. Now, granted, I have been caught in a rainstorm. I mean, who hasn't? But these bolts was like that when I bought it. So that tells me one time they've washed the bike a bunch and left the water on the bike, hadn't dried. And I know that's hard to get the water out of those spots and out of those holes. I get that, I know that. But you also got to think, has it been garage kept? Has it been, rained on plenty of times? If it's been rained on, yes, they can handle it, but over time, yes, you're gonna get water in your wirings and things like that. That's just me. I don't like that. So that's just another little tip for you guys. Next thing I came across was the cluster up here. This cluster up here. Now, these are just bone picking things, keep in mind. I could not change the time, could not do nothing. And it took me forever to figure out, because none of the buttons would work. So I had to use my ingenuity, if you will, and go to my page and check out the video on how to change the time on this, and you'll see how I changed the time on that to fix it. And another thing, check how many miles the bike's got on it. This bike here says it has a lot of miles on it, but me and my buddy tore it up. We came down here and checked the sprockets. It had a sprocket change on it. Well, I went back factory, put the gold chain on it and things like that. And the sprocket change, I don't know how long it's been on there, but it can compensate for about 5 to 6% of the mileage. So don't freak out every time you see a high mileage bike, because it could be a sprocket change. Who knows? And another thing, man, just get on there, listen to everything, ride it, feel the vibrations. Every bike is different. You're going to feel vibrations. You're going to feel different noises and things like that, you know. Check the tires, dude. Check everything you can. Ask them any questions as you can. You know, there's no need in getting home and calling the dude and be like, you know, what's up with this? What's up with that? Because I actually did get this bike home, and I ended up calling the guy numerous times and asking him, well, why is this like this? Why is this like that? And that was my own mistake. So, and there's no refund, you know, so I paid cash. Check the title. Make sure the VIN numbers match. Make sure. And remember, man, this is your money. You've worked hard for it. Spend it wisely, okay? You know, and you know, just make sure, go through everything, you know. Don't walk up on the bike and within 15 minutes you've bought it. Just because you want one so bad, just because Joe down the road has one or Timmy has one, your best friend has one, and you want to hang out with the clan or the group or the gang or whatever, you know. Nothing's buying a used bike that's 10 years older, in a sport bike at least, dude, it's not gonna be perfect unless it's low miles or just, I mean, super well kept. With that said, you know, just be careful. I hope this helped you guys. You know, like the video, drop a comment down below if this helped you, you know, didn't help you or whatever. Subscribe to the video, to the channel. There's more to come, guys. Peace.